Bobby Turner gave us something to talk about. Christian McCaffrey didn't show up to OTAs, and people wanted to say, it's no big deal. So they asked the running back coach about it, and he was like, you know what? That's the business side of the sport, and I don't get into that. Bobby, thank you very much. We're talking business now. What do you think Christian McCaffrey's business reason is for not being at OTAs? Whoever wants to go first can just jump in.
Go ahead, coach. Go ahead.
You guys can take it. Honestly, I can go, but his business reasons are is that he's seen the best that he probably has done in his career with leading the NFL in rushing and gone to the Super Bowl. Not only that, but he's got all of the utilization with having never coming off the field, gets all of the reps, and he sees it coming. He wants his last bag before things start turning a certain way. He also understands that the emergence of a $50 million quarterback means that something's got to shake on offense. There's not a lot of players that can be able to get paid what they're getting paid now, if and when Brock does get paid, which is leaning towards him getting paid. So really, he's being smart and understanding that we just lost the Super Bowl. I was one of the main reasons why we got there. I have all of the cachet and the leverage right now to make a move, and I'm getting ahead of the game right now when you're at your weakest because you got to repay Brandon Ayuk, and you got to do something about Debo, and that Juwan Jennings hasn't signed his tender yet. So right now, this is the best time for me to throw my bid in here with the strongest leverage that I have right now, and it's good business. I understand what he's doing.
Yeah, you're talking about a player who's a running back. First of all, we know the shelf life of running backs is much shorter than most positions in the NFL. Grant, you and I have talked about Christian McCaffrey and how he could fall off the cliff at any point from this age on. 28 years old. We've seen it with a lot of running backs. Some running backs are gifted and lucky enough to make it to 30 and be productive, but that is few and far between. Christian McCaffrey keeping himself in phenomenal shape the way he has, he might be one of those players that makes it there. However, he has zero money guarantee left on his deal, yet he technically has a 2-year agreement with the 49ers in place. He sees it as right now, the 49ers can cut me at any time. If I get injured tomorrow, I can get cut. I get no more money sent my way. And he's trying to avoid that, knowing that this is the final year or two he has of prime play. And he knows how much he means to this team. So you've got to get paid or you can be cut at any point. Looking at next year's crop of free agents and the way the team is going, it looks like the 49ers want that flexibility and he doesn't want to give it to them, which is smart on his end.
What's interesting to me about McCaffrey and not just him, like the whole OTAs and the fact that a lot of guys on offense aren't showing up, it seems to me like on offense, especially, so many players have sacrificed in a lot of ways. Touches, targets, money. They've worked extra hard in the offseason. They all showed up to OTAs last year. Ayuk, Jennings, McCaffrey. And now each of those three is like, you know what? It's time for me to get the recognition I want. It seems like it. Like, let's see what you look like without me out there. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I did so much. I kept my mouth shut. We went to the Super Bowl. We put our best foot forward and we lost. And now it's time for you to show me how much I mean to you. And it seemed like that's Ayuk's attitude. That's Jennings' attitude. It might be McCaffrey's attitude as well. And it's like, who's the most important person on this offense? Ayuk? No. It's me. And if he's going to get a rework deal, I want a rework deal. So, yeah. Because it's like, oh, you got Ricky Pearsall? What do you got behind me, huh?
Yeah. And what does the emergence of another receiver mean for me as a running back? Are you going to start downgrading what my contribution to this offense means? Right? Yep. Are you really going to start gaslighting what I've done for this offense when the offense starts sputtering and then we start losing and then it's all going to be me getting the ball 25 times a game in many different ways? Like I said, it's from a team aspect, it couldn't have happened at a worse time. But from a player perspective, go for the jugular, man. This is, if you got the leverage to do it, do it.
Pretty much.
No, Grant, I don't know if it's a separate topic or if we want to tackle this here, but as far as it being like, should the team acquiesce to Christian McCaffrey? Is that a separate topic or do we want to tackle that here?
No, let's talk about it right now. I think that's the same topic. What do you think the Niners should do here?
Yeah, I don't think they should acquiesce. I think that they should make him play out this deal. I mean, the 49ers are clearly in a transition phase after this
Yeah.
season. Not much is clear. We've got 29 unrestricted free agents. You've got Debo who's under contract. You've got Hargrave that's under contract. You've got Christian who are under contract, but all three of them could be on the chopping block at the end of this
Right.
year as well. We already see the writing on the wall most likely is happening for Debo Samuel. The other two we're not sure of, but I think the 49ers need to maintain that flexibility. They're going to have to pivot and pivot very quickly at the end of the year. They cannot tie up more money into Christian McCaffrey, not knowing what he's going to look like. Giving him guaranteed money at the age of 29, 30 years old is not a smart business decision. Keep that flexibility. And if it pisses him off, it pisses him off. But he's also not going to just not show up. I don't see that being a part of his playbook here. Maybe now when it's not mandatory, great. But once training camp starts and all of that, Christian McCaffrey will be there. He will play and he will finish out the deal as it stands, at least for this year. Maybe next year he'll come to you and say, listen, I'm not going to show up unless I get this deal. But at this point, I don't see a reason to rework that deal. Keep that flexibility if you're the 49ers.
Tell me if this makes sense to you guys or has the ring of truth. Players understand that Brock Purdy is about to get a ton of money. He's going to be getting 15% of the salary cap. All of a sudden, now he's going to have much less money to work with. And people who are making money on this team right now or have high earning potential are a little nervous and wondering, do I have a future here? Right. Am I going to be here for 3-4 years with Brock? Or is this my last year here because they won't be able to afford me? I mean, how many people are thinking about that right now? Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, McCaffrey. Like, really, once they give $55 million to a quarterback, who's the first person you get rid of? The highly paid running back, the highly paid fullback. Yes, you can't pay all of it. So I can see why McCaffrey's like, no. I'm coming off the best season I've had in my career. You're going to pay me now. You're going to pay me now before you pay Brock and say, oops, sorry, no more money left. Like, no. You got it now. Give me the money.
I see it coming.
Yeah.
You know, he's coming off the best year that he's ever had. And he sees that they're trying to usher in this kid under his hard work. And then all of a sudden, when it comes time for him to come in, it's going to be, oh, well, you know, we got Brock paid and things have reshifted. The economic landscape of how we do things, it's not the same anymore. You know, we got to go from the top down, from the quarterback out. And he's trying to get ahead of it. I understand.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. But then at the same time, the Niners cannot bend the knee. He's a running back that is given a lot of good reps. He's put in a lot of great positions for his skill set to shine. Christian McCaffrey just can't be given the ball. Like, there's a reason why he's thrived here. If you want to go somewhere else where they just stick the ball in your gut and let you really be the guy, take your ass back to Carolina.
Thank you.
And stay hurt. You know what I'm saying? So you need to also recognize where you're at as well. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, so one thing you know, everybody has a point in this situation. And I feel like organizationally, it's time for the Niners to kind of stand firm with Christian and say, well, you know what? Case in point, character only matters when you're doing something you don't want to do, not what you want to do. So all of the times we kissed your butt and said that you were the greatest guy in the locker room, we also understood that this was the greatest situation that you've ever been in, and you were thrilled to be here. Now let's see that character play through when you're not about to get paid the money that you expect to get paid, and because we have things that we're handling team business. So be a teammate, show up to work, see you at work.
I think you're also starting to see why the 49ers drafted the way that they did. There's a lot of question marks, especially around the wide receivers, but let's throw Garindo into that mix. You look at
that's a good point.
Ayuk's on a bit of a holdout right now. You got Jennings, where there was some confusions. Did he sign the tender? Did he not sign the tender? Well, he had the IG post and he says year 4 loading and had a picture of the tender. So the assumption was he signed it, but he didn't. So now you've got the 2 wide receivers you drafted. They could take the place of them. You've got Christian McCaffrey, who's not here early. Well, Garindo's kind of your athletic guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And it's not necessarily that they're looking to replace them this year, but if something happens to them this year, or they're not willing to play ball this year, they have the replacement ready to go. And really, for the future, there are staples of this offense they want in place. It's not so much about the player or the individual, but it's about the skill set and how do we fill that skill set going forward. They've done so in this draft. And the more that you're starting to see things play out during this brief period where they've got these OTAs, you're starting to see why they did what they did in the draft.
What a suboptimal way to start the offseason. I mean, last year, the way they lost in the NFC Championship game really galvanized them. Like, no, we're the best team in the league. We're all going to work a little bit harder, sacrifice a little bit this offseason, come to OTAs, except for Bosa, and prove it. And in their minds, they did. They're like the consensus #1 team in the country all year. They got the #1 seed. They went to the Super Bowl. They put their best foot forward and they still lost. And now I think there's just a little bit of like, well, are we really going to do that 2 years in a row? Like, we just climbed the mountain. We got to the top of the mountain. We didn't get to be champions. Like, you know what? Now this offseason is about resting and getting the money that I deferred. And it seems like it's not just McCaffrey. That's sort of the attitude with the team right now, which is not how you want to start off a Super Bowl campaign, in my opinion.
No.
It's like they all know they missed their shot last year. It's kind of the attitude they're giving off right now, except for Bosa and Purdy, who showed up.
Yeah, but see the Bosa thing is interesting because they shoulder tapped him and asked him to show up and be a leader, probably knowing a lot of these other guys weren't going to show up, which is, by the way, I know that we talk about Shanahan and his leadership style and all those things. What he did there is what good leaders will do, which is you've got a coalition of guys that you can trust, your captains, that you can go to and say, hey, be my eyes and ears when I'm not around. Let me know what the real pulse of this team is. Also, I need you to be a leader. I need you to be here. Can you do that? And when a player like Bosa says, yeah, sure, coach, I got you. Normally I wouldn't, obviously, but I'm there. That is a good sign. I will say that. But there's a clear reason why they asked him to be there. And now we know that he was asked to be there. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have shown up either. And I also find it interesting that some of these other veterans that haven't been in the league for a very long time, but are new to this team, also didn't show up. That one's the one that really kind of surprises me. It's like, why wouldn't you want to
Chris Hubbard,
get to know your teammates? Yeah.
Where are you?